The 6.0 Nod Cry beta has been the craziest one we've ever had in Genshin Impact. We've gone back and forth again on how restrictive team building is going to be, and we have some of the most reliable pre-release information for future units that we've had for any region. So in this video, we're going to summarize the third and final kit of the 6.0 beta, the free 4-star Aino, talk about how she's a must build, go over the kit crumbs that we have for the Archon-like character Columbina, give the updated information for Flynn's and Lauma calcs and teams. Strap in, this is going to be a big one. Welcome to Jello Impact, where we build and test every single character to help you decide who you want to wish for and build. Infinity Nikki is a cross-platform open-world cozy game powered by Unreal Engine 5, where you can collect unique characters and dress them up in amazing magical ability outfits while exploring this beautiful open world. Version 1.9 brings much anticipated updates to the home feature, with new abilities for gardening, crafting, and socializing, similar to the Serene Teapot in Genshin. Their latest update with version 1.8 offers a completely new Chinese aesthetic, including the beautiful 5-star catsuit resonance outfit Forever Bond. Not only is it a gorgeous outfit, but wearing the suit gives you unique advantages, in particular against the new boss Inkshade painting Long. There's also the brand new 5-star Chinese dragon outfit Clouded Long. You can even summon Long in-game and ride it with friends. It also features a new limited time area, the glorious dual version map, Danqing Island and Danqing Realm. It's a brand new and very interesting plot, similar to one of my favorite Genshin stories of all time, the Divine Damsel of Devastation, the original Shenhe quest. This update is inspired by Chinese traditional art and is visually stunning, while also bringing brand new gameplay with the Danqing Trials, a side-scrolling platformer, and others. Complete the challenges to get diamonds and other great rewards. It is free to download and try for yourself, and also check them out at Gamescom in late August. Sponsors like these allow me to continue bringing this content to you while also supporting my family of 5, so definitely check out the link below if you're interested. Before we get into anything, a very important reminder to consume this information responsibly. There have already been a lot of changes, and therefore there could be a lot more throughout this beta, so nothing in here is final, but I do think it's very important to stay updated, especially the closer to free to play you are, the less you spend, the more important it is to plan out your account in advance if you're concerned about meta. Plus, I think that the whole discussion is just very fun and interesting. So even if we do get big changes, and on top of that, it's important to give feedback to Hoyoverse if they're watching these types of videos or keeping tabs on the community perception. So even if we do get big changes, I still think that all of this information is very valuable. So first things first, I believe that Aino is our free-to-play must-build 4-star unit that will serve as a stand-in until we get the Archon-like character Columbina. This is supported by Prediction Man, who has correctly predicted everything about the 6.0 characters to date. So I do believe that his predictions for Columbina being an off-field hydro support for Nod Cry reactions, being a hydro catalyst, makes perfect sense, and that would put her exactly in line with this theory of being an Aino upgrade. But Columbina doesn't come out for a few patches, so you will need to build Aino in the meantime, not just because her kit is basically an AoE Xingqiu applying hydro, which is going to be very important for both Flynn's and Lauma, but also because she's going to enable the very powerful artifacts for your on-fielders. If you didn't know, there's been a ton of drama with going back and forth between needing 1 or 2 and 2 and 3 Nod Cry characters to enable these very powerful artifact sets. Fortunately, Genshin seems to have landed on a much more reasonable 1 and 2 Nod Cry units, which is in line with the first videos I made for Flynn's and Lauma. My Lauma video is especially up to date, so if you're interested in Lauma teams, you can check that out. Flynn's will go over his updated stuff in this video here. I feel like my Flynn's video didn't age quite as well, just because we have more calcs, so we'll talk about that. But basically, by having Aino on the team, you're enabling 15% more crit rate, 10% more lunar reaction damage for a total of 20, another 10% total lunar reaction damage, so a total of 40% lunar reaction damage, 120 EM, and 30% crit rate from having 2 Nod Cry characters on the team. This is really big. It is a reduction from 45% crit rate and 180 EM, which this is a much more balanced number as well, still being broken. Aino is our first ever Hydro Claymore, which is very, very cool. Her skill has a tap and hold version that's good for exploration, just like like Keqing, Alhaitham, Chioris, where you go forward and you can aim it and etc. Her burst is off-field AoE hydro application, and she has various things in her kit that gives her more hydro application. So for example, a second Nod Cry unit gives her more hydro application. Her C2 gives her more hydro application. This is going to make her a very competent hydro applier for Nod Cry teams. She also has a cooldown of only 13 seconds and a duration of 14 seconds. So her hydro application actually has 100% uptime if you're playing her on a team that has short rotations. And because Flynn's has short rotations, it's actually more optimal to use Aino, even with the change to only needing 2 Nod Cry units. And even if Inefa could be one of those characters, you'd still rather use Aino on the team as opposed to Yelan or Xingqiu or Farina, because those characters will extend rotations, meaning it's going to take longer to get Flynn's back on field to do more damage. So the long and the short of it is, if you're going to build Flynn's, you have to build Aino. And the same is the case for Lauma. The buffs from the artifact set are just too good to pass up. And the only character that's going to be able to enable those things for Lauma is Aino, unless of course you have Inefa. We don't yet have calcs on Lauma. It is very difficult to do calcs for Bloom teams, and theory crafters have had a hard time getting a hold of the exact formula for the Lunar Bloom and how it all exactly works. So we're gonna have to wait a bit longer to see exactly how good Lauma is. But again, if you want to know what kind of teams could be good, you can check out my other video. Other things to know about Aino is that C4 is going to restore 10 energy to her. So that's a relevant constellation. And then her C6 is a 35% lunar reaction buff, stacked on top of the other 40% lunar reaction buff. That's 75% enabled from Aino. So the long and the short of it is she is going to be not just a free-to-play staple, an early region staple for Nod Cry teams, and she's also going to be whale bait because the C6 should be a pretty significant increase. And I do think she's 100% replaced with Columbina. I think as soon as Columbina comes out, Aino's relevance is essentially dead, just like Kachina. There's also been some data mining, which is very interesting. Now, shifting gears a little bit, now that you know you need to build Aino and how she works, Columbina is data mined to have what looks like the ability to enable and count as 2 Nod Cry units all by herself, which could mean that she can enable this artifact set for any character. And depending on what she does with lunar reactions, if she enables them herself, then that means she could revive tons of meta irrelevant characters into relevancy all by herself without needing other Nod Cry units. So I want to put this out there and get that in your ear that is at least a possibility, because you could save Inefa for the rerun. At launch, Flynn's is looking like he needs Inefa badly. His launch premium team is looking like 102k DPS right now. It's a bit lower than what I had before because Aino used to give an elemental mastery buff in her base kit, but they took that away. So now she really is just a Nod Cry unit that applies AoE off-field hydro, which is good if you think about it. But then the Flynn's free-to-play team, where you're going to have to replace Inefa with something like Fischl. First of all, this team doesn't even have a healer, so that's looking kind of rough. You might want to replace Sucrose with Shalonin. But even this, it was calced by the Genshin scientist at only 67k DPS, which is honestly bad. This is not going to feel good. So I'm telling you right now, 67k DPS is like current Hyper Bloom levels of damage. It is, you know, we're talking worse than Alhaitham, we're talking worse than Navia, worse than Hu Tao, worse than Risley. You know, we're talking like yoimiya levels of damage with this team. And whereas when he's with Inefa, we're talking, you know, above Novelette damage, we're talking Arlecchino damage, we're talking Veresa, close to Veresa damage. So my video on, even though the artifact sets ended up being less restrictive than we thought, you still really, really, really badly want Inefa to do damage at launch. But I wanted to put it in your ear that Columbina coming to the fray might be what the free-to-play team needs to be really good. So you might be able to skip Inefa and get Columbina and still achieve that high levels of DPS. So the things you can do, you can get Flynn's now and skip Inefa and either get Inefa on her rerun, or you can skip Flynn's now. If you're like really set on not getting Inefa, you can skip Flynn's now and see what his teams look like when we get Columbina and see if that's going to be acceptable to you at the time. We're never going to know everything about the future, but we have this sort of unique position where there are a few things we do know, and I want to give you all of that information so that you can plan accordingly. I also wanted to make sure I really did cover all of these things and really call out that these things were a problem, because I think not just me, like I have no idea if Hoyoverse saw my video, but I think all the feedback and all of the pushback that Genshin got from the 3 Nod Cry unit restriction, I think that did get through to them, and I'm glad that they have seemed like they've settled on the right decision. By the way, we also got all the craftable Nod Cry weapons that are looking really good. It's especially looking good for Flynn's, that he'll have a Nod Cry weapon. They're all giving elemental mastery. They're also Nod Cry restricted, so that's kind of fun. Energy recharge and then elemental mastery substat, so this is likely what you're going to be using for Aino. We have our first craftable HP sword, so it'll be interesting to see calcs for this one as to whether it's going to work with Farina, how it's going to work with Nilou, whether this will be worth using. They're also really cool aesthetic. It's like Fontaine, but like way grittier. I like it a lot. Let me know if you like want a video going through all of these. I think I'm going to wait until we get more calcs on them. This looks like it could be a pretty good free-to-play catalyst for Llama. Bloom damage is increased by 48%. Lunar Bloom damage increased by 12%, and then Elemental Mastery substat, that's looking quite good. This one just gives a ton of EM in the substat, then EM down here as well. So that is the current state. I am back personally to being very excited. I think Nod Cry is going to be a lot of fun for team building. I don't think it's going to feel too bad to need 2 Nod Cry units because, again, Aino is free and she's going to be fine. And everyone's going to get Columbina, and then you won't have to cope with Aino, and that's when teams will get really opened up and really fun, which around 6.3. So I'm really looking forward to Nod Cry. I'm really excited to get these characters. I think the only downside right now is Flynn's is still really hurting without an Effa. That's like the only thing that sucks about this whole situation. But other than that, I'm feeling good about everything, and I'm excited to get Llama calcs. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more, and if you don't want to do that, that is totally fine. Just watching the video has been more than enough. Thanks so much. Bye for now.